Hi, I'm back with one simple recipe, which is one step closer to better health. I'm Judy Matusky with Athens Nutrition. I'm a registered dietitian and culinary nutritionist, so it's good to be back. And as you've noticed, this month has been all about apples. All of our recipes have been really centered around that. It is apple season. And I have a huge basket right here of some apples that we didn't actually pick them, but we got them from a farm up close to our cabin in central Pennsylvania, and they are absolutely delicious. I mean, there's nothing better than a fresh apple right from the tree, right? So this is the time to do it, at least here in the Northeast. So we're making, it's not even a recipe. I'm almost, I feel kind of guilty like saying that it is. It's just such a simple, creamy, sort of, luscious little chocolate sauce that we're going to be using as our dip for the apple slices. Now, this is a dip that goes way back. I used to make this for my kids when they were little all the time. But back then, what I did was I just used Hershey's syrup, which I didn't have any Hershey's syrup, but I have the Ghirardelli, but Hershey's syrup with a little peanut butter. And then I would pop that in the microwave, stir it together, and then slice up like a big tray of fruit. So whether it was bananas or apples or pears or strawberries or, any fruit really works really well with this dip. This is a little bit more of a grown-up version, but the original peanut butter and chocolate, because again, Reese's obviously has it right. That's just such a perfect combination. So you can definitely use peanut butter. Natural peanut butter is the preference. But we're going to use almond butter today. And instead of the syrup, although this makes this recipe even easier if you use syrup, chocolate syrup, we are going to use dark chocolate. So we're elevating it a little bit. We're making it more grown up. And it is, a little bit more heart healthy doing the dark chocolate, melting it, and then using the almond butter. We'll talk about that. But anyway, I have a whole bunch of chocolate that I pulled out of my pantry. This was an Icelandic chocolate that I came across when I was in the market. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Let me try that. So this is just like a 56% bittersweet. You could go to 70%. The higher the cocoa that's in that concentration in the chocolate, the more of those polyphenols or the more of those plant compounds that are a little bit heart healthy that we hear a lot about. But I'm not a huge fan of super dark chocolate, so like around the 60% is usually where I go or I land. The other thing that I found that is actually pretty good is just the baker's chocolate, whether it's, this is a 56 cacao percentage, as well as that Icelandic chocolate, but also this is, you can get it in, super bitter, which is a little bit much, but depends on what you're cooking. But I actually have these in my pantry all the time because I use these and chop them up and put them into cookies. They're good to melt just for something like this as a dip. Just that the baker's chocolate is easy. I think the flavor is actually pretty good. And it's in every supermarket. Or obviously chocolate chips, any brand you could sort of melt down. So any chocolate that you have, chocolate bars work. So what I did is that, normally I would just, here I have let me just show this to you. I just have a little glass bowl that my chocolate's melted in. Normally what I would do is you just take the pieces of the chocolate. It's about 2 ounces, give or take for, if you're going to, serve 2 people with this dip. Break it up, put it in a microwave bowl, a bowl that can go in the microwave. And then just, microwave it for maybe 30 seconds, stir it, kind of check on it. My microwave was on the other side of my kitchen, so I decided that I would just do this over a little bit of warm water over the stove. So I kind of just made a makeshift double boiler. So I just put my glass bowl, which is tempered glass, it could take the heat, right on top of the pan. And I just turned it to like a little low simmer. And it took maybe, 30 seconds to melt the amount of chocolate that I had in here. So super easy, but I just wanted to do it because it's easier for me just for on camera, so I don't have to run back and forth to the microwave. All right, so we have the apples, again, any fruit works for this, so I'm just using apples. It's apple season, obviously. All right, so all we're going to do is let's just take this, here we go. We're going to take the chocolate. This is about 2 ounces, and obviously, again, this is really not a recipe. You can use more chocolate, less chocolate, more almond butter, less almond butter, whatever your preference is. You can't go wrong. There's no way to not make this work. All right, so I am going to use almond butter. And what's interesting about almond butter and peanut butter, I was actually just talking about this with a client of mine. This is about 2 ounces of chocolate to about 2 tablespoons of almond butter. I'm not measuring because there's no need for that for this combination. But I was talking about almond butter and peanut butter and nuts in general with a client of mine who really had elevated cholesterol. Her LDL levels were elevated. And we were talking about nuts and nut butters, and I said, let me just do a little more digging into nuts because he was eating a lot of different kinds of nuts. So anyway, as they were talking about that, so all you're doing is I just added it right here. This is the dip. This is it. It's chocolate, dark chocolate melted with some nut butter. This is almond butter. But the almond butter, if you look at the nutrition fact panel compared to the natural, both of these are natural. They are just almonds or peanuts that are ground. And peanuts, although would still be considered to be relatively low in saturated fat, and the saturated fat is what we're most concerned with elevating LDL cholesterol in the blood. Almond butter is lower, and I thought, interesting. So even though most nuts tend to be on the lower side for saturated fat, there are some that are even lower, and almonds are one of those. So if you are eating a lot of nuts and you are, concerned about your cholesterol, or you're, really trying to get your LDL levels down, you might want to think about the nut mixture that you're eating. Peanuts and peanut butter, perfectly fine, but I think if you really want to go even lower, because this is like a whole gram less per serving in almond butter, so that's actually a really good option. So if you want to switch that a little bit or change it up or do like a mixture of nuts, do almonds and walnuts and a little bit of peanuts, so it's not just one nut all the time. So anyway, that's just a little aside. All right, so we have our creamy, unbelievably luscious, creamy little chocolate dip. And we're just going to take our apples and give them a slice. And again, we know that apples are, they just make the best snack. They're so portable. They are nice and sweet and tart, depending on the variety that you're choosing. And then it's just a matter of just slicing these into little strips. But the nice thing about apples is that something you don't think about is that they are a really good source of 2 main things. One is soluble fiber, which is somewhat difficult to kind of find sometimes in the food in food. But they're a good source of soluble fiber, which is another thing that can help lower LDL for anybody that is in need of doing that. And they're also, and the soluble fiber is really good for our gut health, right? So it's our gut bacteria will break that down. And actually digest it and eat it, basically. And the byproducts are really pretty healthy for our gut. And the other thing is that apples are high in a compound called quercetin. And quercetin is in the flavonoid family of antioxidants. And it's really kind of in the skin. So it gives the color. So these plant compounds are in the skins of the apples. And the fiber really lives there too, most of it. So ideally, we want to include the skin with our apples whenever possible. If pesticides are a concern, then if you want to certainly go organic, that's fine, or just wash them really, really well. But definitely we want the skin, because that's where a lot of these nutrients live. All right, so we have our apples. And then it's just a little dip, and here you have this amazing little treat, whether it's after school for the kids, or whether it's just for you. Now, what I was thinking too, I thought, again, for making this, a little bit more grown up and a little bit more elevated, you could then chop up some almonds and just do a little dip in your almonds, and then you have like a little crunch to go with this. Or the other thought I had was to do, if you really wanted to do that, we could take a little bit of like the mold and flaky salt and just a tiny bit, and then just sprinkle that on there, because we know a little bit of salt on chocolate just makes the chocolate even more chocolatey. But anyway, that's a thought, that would be another way to kind of play around with this. Because if you wanted to do like a fruit tray, you could do something like this. I don't have a little platter, but if you had a little platter and you took these little wedges, right, and you could even pre-dip them, and then kind of lay them out on a little bit of a platter. They're going to make it a little bit messy, but still it could be fun. Or you can just do the big, just do a larger amount, triple, quadruple the recipe for this, and then put it in the center of a nice platter, and then do your fruit around it with maybe some chopped almonds or maybe a little flaky salt. And that would be kind of just a fun little thing to have maybe at a party, dinner party, or just for the kids, you know, let them have fun with it too. All right, super easy, super simple, but again, an all-time favorite in our family. And I really look forward to it this time of the year because the apples are just so good. All right, one simple recipe. We'll be back again with another apple recipe. We're going to finish out the month. We have, I think, one more to go, and that will be next Thursday at 11:30. We are switching over to bringing these live at 11:30 instead of 12. And I know that some of our graphics still said 12 o'clock, so I apologize if there's some confusion. But as always, these videos live on Athens Nutrition's YouTube channel, so you can always find them. I noticed that Facebook now only keeps them in the feed for 30 days. They're still on our Facebook page under video, the video tab, but they don't stay in the feed anymore. So anyway, stay well till next week. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.